issues, the economy. All these and more on Panorama this afternoon. I am Ifoma Ojinta. Do stay with us. Today is May 29, 2020, marking the end of the first year of the second four-year term of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration and the fifth year of the government in office. Available statistics released by the media office of the president indicates that the administration has made productive impact in almost all the facets of Nigerian life. The three umbrella areas on which government based its interventionist agenda are security, reviving the economy with particular emphasis on job creation, especially for youths, and fighting corruption in the area of security. Government has taken the battle to the insurgents and criminals, and they are being extinguished by the day and very close to complete extermination. Similarly, the economy, which was long dependent on a monoproduct petroleum, is being retooled, refocused with diversification as a task that must be accomplished. Agriculture has been given a boost. Manufacturing has got a shot in the arm, and solid minerals are contributing a large chunk of the gross domestic product. The country is very close to food security, with most of the grains no longer imported. On the war against corruption, there have been aggressive fiscal reforms and purging of leakages in such a way that seems to say, commit the crime, do the term. Sectoral analysis of the giant strides in the past 5 years will come in as subsequent bulletins. And Nigeria has been recording a steady and rapid growth in the agricultural sector of the economy as a result of the green alternative policy being implemented by the federal government in the past 5 years. Agricultural economists are of the views that the country would have been in major food crisis if not for the policies and programs of the APC-led administration. In this report, Musa Baba Aliyu takes a look at the journey of food security and self-sufficiency so far.
It has been 5 years now that the federal government, under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, embarked on a journey. The dream is to take Nigeria out of the list of food-dependent nations to a wealthy and food-secured country. Let's eat what we produce has been the slogan of the administration. The administration came on board at a time when revenues from oil and gas dropped to less than $30 a barrel, thereby affecting the socioeconomic growth and well-being of the country. To look for other sources of income therefore became imperative, and the government turned attention to agriculture.
We thank God for the administration of Muhammad Buhari, that we are getting back into agriculture, and we hope that in the next few years, agriculture will take the front seat once again.
The first step taken in achieving these goals is identification of major challenges that made the country to be over-dependent on importation of what can be produced locally. These challenges include lack of access as well as high cost of farming inputs and farmers' inability to get financial support to expand and add value to their produce.
We have to deal with reducing the import burden of food, which is almost $22 billion a year.
To tackle these challenges, the government introduced the Anchor Borrowers Program, which was launched by President Muhammadu Buhari.
The Central Bank of Nigeria set aside 40 billion naira for rice and wheat farming in an Anchor Borrowers Program.
A farmer will be given all the necessary input required to grow wheat. And at the end of the harvest, he's going to pay back with the produce at the prevailing market price.
The latest figures released by the Central Bank of Nigeria indicated that more than 1.5 million smallholder farmers are cultivating over 1.4 million hectares of land, under the Anchor Borrowers Program.
It is important for us to appreciate a government that brings about policies that are productive, that are progressive, that are positive, that are proactive.
Between 2016 and 2019, more than 10 new rice mills came on stream in Nigeria. Many of the existing mills have expanded their capacity. Several new ones are under construction.
In Zamfara State, there was this old man. He plants rice 3 times a year, and he got about 11 metric tons per hectare.
Farmers don't need to pay for the insurance separately. They don't pay premium separately. The price of the insurance is packaged and bundled into the cost of the fertilizer.
This has attracted more than $1 billion of private sector investments in the production of rice, wheat, sugar, poultry, animal feed, fertilizers, among other produce since 2015. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And more on this steady and rapid growth in the last 5 years with Anthony Forson, who is standing by at the venue of the briefing by the Minister of Information and Culture to talk on the achievements of the Buhari administration. Now, Anthony, can you let us in on what is going on at the venue of the briefing right now?
Yes, Informa, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, just made his presentation succinctly and then touching on all aspects of the nation's developmental sectors. And most importantly, he said, water power supply tops the list. And during this period under review, this turns out to be perhaps the single most formidable achievements. But, however, he also took a look at the ongoing border drill exercise, codenamed Exercise Swift Response. This exercise, the minister said, has helped in controlling smuggling across the nation's borders and then inwardly increasing food production. And as he puts it, Nigeria is heading towards attaining food sufficiency. However, smuggling, which he insisted has reduced drastically, has enhanced the nation's attainment of food sufficiency and increased revenue as well. Because when the border drill exercise started, the Nigerian customs raked in 7 billions, far above what used to be. Another area the minister stressed is on infrastructural development, and that during the year 2019 up until 2020, the administration has been consistent in terms of development. It is in the area of building and revamping critical infrastructure, as well as embarking of massive infrastructural renewal, the type of which he said the country has not witnessed since Nigeria's return to democratic rule in 1999. Job creation also formed part of the government's achievements so far, citing Empower program as an avenue where Nigerian youths have been supported in creating jobs. The fight against corruption, however, they hit the nail on the head, saying ICP has recovered assets worth over 81 billion naira. Just as EFCC too, he said, has succeeded in securing over 1,000 convictions and recovered huge amounts, running into several millions of foreign currency. The executive order, Lai Mohammed equally noted that it came in very handy because it was a bold step the president had to take. And this time, on the implementation of financial autonomy, the state legislators and judiciary, it is also a pointer that the current administration is on point. The current ravaging COVID-19 pandemic, he said, the president's response to the issue was also commendable, and it shows the federal government is on top.
All right. Thank you very much, Anthony. We know you have so much for us, and we expect that in our subsequent bulletin. Thank you very much, Anthony. We take a break now. Panorama continues in a moment. Do stay. And still talking developmental issues, we now speak to Dr. Peter Adamu via the telephone on economic strides in the light of COVID-19. Dr. Adamu is a lecturer in the Department of Economics, Kaduna State University, and also a specialist in international and developmental economies. You're welcome to Panorama, sir.
Thank you very much for having me on the program.
Okay. Now, Dr. Adamu, now looking at unlocking Nigeria's hidden potentials and the global challenge posed by the pandemic, making countries like Nigeria look inwards for essential needs such as medical supplies, Nigerians now produce oxygen ventilators, hand sanitizers and face masks. Is this response showing the light of Nigeria, against dependency?
Thank you very much for this all-important question. Over the years, Nigeria as a country has been trying to position herself in the international space in terms of exports, and so that we can reduce our over-dependence on imports. And thank God for some policies that came up in recent time. In October last year, the president directed to close our borders so that we can produce rice locally for self-sufficiency. There are so many programs like that came up, and COVID-19 also has now come to tell us that the best way you can actually put your mark in the world is for you to be self-sufficient. So we have Nigerians now, being ingenious to go to produce things that we ordinarily should have imported. I think when the COVID-19 pandemic started, Nigerians were, clamoring to get some kind of items like the PPEs, the hand gloves, the face masks, the hand sanitizers. So within a short period of time, some people started going into the business, and it actually helped us a lot, because knowing that at that time, so many demands were coming all over the world, and we had to actually do things differently, and it actually really helped. Nigeria actually is a big player there in Africa in terms of economy. But over the years, we have not actually done well, because if you check the total trade from Africa to the rest of the world, you see that it's always, below other continents. If you check intra-African trade, you see that Nigeria, exports within African countries is very, very low, and intra-African trade is also very, very low. So in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa particularly, how about a population of 950 million people? So it means that Nigeria can, expand production in all of these items I mentioned, be sufficient in them, and even export to other African countries. But all those African countries are also depending on import from China. So it's actually a good thing that we have leveraged on the lockdown and the pandemic so far. But the problem now is the local manufacturers or the industries or the defense have not actually taken this opportunity very seriously. If you go to the recent interventions or the stimulus packages by the Nigerian government, if you go into the
okay, now Dr. Adamu, moving forward, how can the tempo of innovations be sustained in other critical sectors and beyond COVID-19? Please, very quickly, Dr. Adamu.
All right, beyond COVID-19, government have actually tried as much as possible to stimulate the economy. You find government, giving tax exemption for micro and small enterprises. So it means that such enterprises don't need to pay tax. And of course, government wants to stimulate the sector. So people in that category must, key in to ensure that they tap these very incentives from the government. We also found the CBN doing a lot, to reduce interest rate. Also, today the interest rate was reduced to 12.5%, and the CBN also is rolling out about 50 billion naira, to target credit facility, especially for micro, small, and medium enterprises. So all of these are interventions from the government. But the key issue here is that those people that this money is actually meant for, if you can tap this money, they expand production. If they expand production, it suggests that the economics of scope and scale as well. So people will find their way expanding production. Like we said earlier, some people specialized in clothes making, or with the COVID-19, they can do face masks, nose masks, and all things.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Adamu. That will be all for now. Dr. Adamu is a lecturer in the Department of Economics, Kaduna State University. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has reported 182 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. Lagos has 101 cases, FCT 16, Akwa Ibom 10, and Oyo 8 cases. Others are Kaduna and Delta 6 each, Rivers 5, Ogun and Ebonyi 4 each, while Kano has 3 more confirmed cases. Plateau, Gombe and Kwara have 2 cases each, while Kebbi, Bauchi and Borno have 1 case each. There are now 8,915 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. 2,592 cases have been discharged, with 259 deaths recorded so far. Now, the refusal of health institutions to attend to patients with other ailments apart from COVID-19 is causing avoidable fatalities in the nation's health sector. Chairman, Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, who disclosed this at the daily briefing, appealed to chief medical directors of hospitals to reverse what he called the disturbing trend. Mitari Ikwen tells us more.
The nation's health experts have always indicated that the risk of contracting coronavirus is higher for those with illnesses such as hypertension, diabetes, and non-communicable diseases.
Unfortunately,
the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, however, notes that such patients are now being neglected.
Truth be told, we are having more deaths from non-attendance to other diseases than COVID-19. This situation is made worse by the fact that federal tertiary institutions have been mentioned among those rejecting patients for fear of COVID-19. This is not acceptable, and we are saddened by this development. The Minister of Health has reached out to all medical directors, directing them to continue providing regular medical services so that we do not end up with avoidable death.
The task force believes that until a cure or vaccine is found for coronavirus, prevention is still the best approach.
The Madagascar herbs have been received at the Federal Ministry of Health and were found to consist of two varieties, one variety labeled to be for prevention and the other labeled as for treatment.
There are two things that we need to do. The first is what do the ingredients contain? And then the second is the clinical trials. What do they do?
Following growing demand for mass testing for COVID-19, the PTF insisted that rapid diagnostic test kits are still largely unreliable.
Recent data out of the US showed that a certain kit that was invested in was right 50% of the time. There's a growing black market on rapid diagnostic test kits in Nigeria. We have to be careful in what we buy and how we use it and how we interpret the results that it provides.
Meanwhile, more sensitization strategies are being deployed by the task force to penetrate the grassroots.
Our community engagement partners have a combined total of over 800,000 volunteers across the country that are ready to canvass Nigeria with life-saving messages.
In the event of a spike in COVID-19 cases, the PTF indicated that hotels and school dormitories may be used to isolate and treat patients with mild symptoms to free up hospital beds for more severe cases. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje says Kano State is witnessing a decline in the spread of COVID-19. Speaking during a periodic media briefing on the COVID-19 response, the governor attributed the decline to the deployment of additional strategies in containing community transmission of the virus. Abdullahi Mustafa has details.
At the initial stage of the COVID-19 response in Kano, the state battled with multiple daily reported cases and death from the viral disease. This informed the deployment of additional measures by the state government. Increased awareness, establishment of additional isolation facilities, testing and sample collection centers were among such measures. So far, Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje stated the outcome is cheering.
We are witnessing a decline in the spread of this disease in Kano State. And also we are witnessing people accepting that the disease is a reality.
Dr. Ganduje, however, stressed that use of face mask must be enforced to achieve better results. He also insisted that the Almajiri system must be remodeled, not only with regards containing community transmission, but to comply with the free and compulsory education policy of the state government. There were presentations from members of the technical response team and the state task force on COVID-19. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
Next is sports with Tamara Ebiwe.
Following recommendations from the Extraordinary National Council on Sports, the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, inaugurated the Edo 2020 National Sports Festival COVID-19 Committee with the mandate to work with relevant stakeholders to ascertain the health infrastructure of the state and come up with a new date for the Games. The minister, while inaugurating the committee in Abuja via virtual communication, charged the team to work quickly within the stipulated 30 days given the committee.
It is a national call to duty, and together, I believe, we can overcome the public health challenge, not just to sports, but also to every facet of our lives.
In the meantime, Nigerians say the task of winning World Cup tickets as well as next Africa Cup of Nations title handed to technical advisor Gernot Rohr by the Nigeria Football Federation in its new contract extension are not difficult to achieve.
The target should be, can Nigeria be able to get to the semi-finals? Because as at now, I think Nigeria should be thinking of getting the semis, not actually getting a ticket. Because getting a ticket for me is something Nigeria should be able to achieve.
Win the AFCON 2021. It's not impossible, but it's going to be a very tall order. And then the World Cup, I don't know about that.
Gernot Rohr became the Super Eagles technical advisor in 2016. Tamara Ebiwe, NTA News.
And that's Panorama for today. We thank you for watching.